Hey guys, Tommy here with the Fast Lane Car, and I don't know about you, but I am super excited about the emergence of electric vehicles. Now, one of the big advertised benefits of an electric vehicle is the affordability of charging. Before we start this video, I really don't want the comment sections to turn into, oh my goodness, you hate EVs, just go back to your old school V8. And I also don't want this to turn into, oh my gosh, you hate internal combustion engines, go back to your kale. Because quite honestly, I love both technologies. I love the sheer quietness and absolute performance of electric vehicles, as well as their efficiency, but I also definitely appreciate a manual transmission rowing your own gears and hearing a zesty little engine roar. And regardless of whether or not you've got a big V8 or an EV, here's a quick word from our sponsor on how to keep your paint looking great.
Hi, this is Roman from TFL, and I've got Case here to show off Avalon King's do-it-yourself ceramic coating. Inside the kit is everything you need to apply it to your car or truck. Just wrap the cloth around the foam pad, apply drops of Avalon King, and wipe it onto your vehicle. Buff it off after it dries, and you're done. Avalon King uses nanotechnology to seal all the pores on your vehicle's surface to form an invisible, semi-permanent shield that can last 2 to 3 years. The coating produces a glass-like glossy finish on your vehicle's painted surfaces, headlights, rims, and glass. Better yet, it makes cleaning off dirt, mud, bugs, and other insults to your vehicle's paint a heck of a lot easier. It's like car wax on steroids. Get your own bottle and see it for yourself. Click on the link below and use the code FASTLANE25 to get $25 off. Now let's get back to our regular scheduled video.
A little bit of background, I was scrolling through my endless recommendations of hedgehogs playing pianos and will it blend videos I've seen 300 times, and I came across a video from a YouTube channel called Now You Know. They are a Tesla advocate channel is what I'm going to call them. So I clicked on their most recent video, which came out on April 20th, and it was a news recap of what happened that week. One of the stories was about the Tesla Supercharging referral program. That really didn't grab my attention, but one thing they said during that absolutely did. They said 1,000 miles of supercharging is like 40 or 50 bucks. It's not a lot of money, although 1,000 miles of gas would be a lot more. Now, that got me thinking, would it actually? Because gas is super cheap right now, and even though many think that Tesla's supercharging network or the really fast chargers that Tesla has installed around the country are known for being fast and affordable, is Tesla supercharging actually cheaper than an equivalent gas car running on dino juice? Let's check the facts. All right, so I need two cars to compare before we can look at the price of supercharging versus gasoline, and I have two direct competitors, the Tesla Model 3 Standard Range Plus and the BMW 3 Series, the 330i. The 3 Series was the best-selling car in this small luxury sedan segment for decades. The Model 3 kind of came by and took its crown away. This is now the best-selling Tesla as well as the best-selling in its class. The base price for a Standard Range Plus Model 3 is $39,990. The BMW is a tick more expensive at $40,750. Now the Model 3 is a little bit quicker, 5.3 seconds to 60 according to Tesla versus 5.6 seconds to 60 according to BMW. The EPA-rated combined MPG on the BMW is 30 versus 141 MPGe on the Tesla. Now what about the range? How far can you drive these vehicles on one tank or one battery charge? With the Tesla, 250 miles is the EPA rated range, whereas the BMW has a rated range of 468 miles. Pretty huge differences there. Now this is the number we really care about. This is the EPA rated efficiency. The Tesla is rated at 24 kilowatt hours per 100 miles. If you're not used to EV jargon, that can be super confusing, but it actually makes total sense. A kilowatt hour is basically a unit of capacity. It's the electric version of a gallon, really. So basically, the EPA says that on average, this Model 3 will use 24 kilowatt hours worth of electricity to drive 100 miles. Now, for the non-EV people, the gasoline one makes a little bit more sense. The EPA says the BMW will use 3.3 gallons of gas to go 100 miles. So let's multiply this up to 1,000 miles, because that's what Zach and Jesse from Now You Know said is more cost effective with a Tesla than a BMW. So if we do some quick math, we can see that by the EPA standards, the Tesla would use 240 kilowatt hours to go 1,000 miles, whereas the BMW would use 33 gallons to go 1,000 miles. Now let's start talking about price per kilowatt hour and price per gallon. Tesla with their superchargers tries, when possible, to bill per kilowatt hour. In some regions that's not possible due to local kind of rules and regulations, but for the most part they try to use a standard of 28 cents per kilowatt hour here in the US. According to the US Energy Information Administration, the average price of regular gasoline here in the US when Zach and Jesse shot their video was $1.81 per gallon, which is pretty affordable. Now let's multiply it out to see which one would be more expensive to drive 1,000 miles using the Tesla Supercharger or gasoline. Driving our Model 3 Standard Range Plus using Tesla Superchargers, it should cost $67.20 to drive 1,000 miles. And using gasoline, the 3 Series at this US average of $1.81 would cost $59.73. All right, Zach and Jesse, from Now You Know, if you were to drive a Tesla Model 3 Standard Range Plus and a BMW 3 Series 1,000 miles on April 20th, the Tesla would cost about $7.47 more to supercharge than the BMW would cost to fill up with gasoline. Of course, that's not really the whole story, because actually this will differ depending on the car, even with the cheap gas we have right now. So let's move it up a segment, let's move it up a performance level and look at the Tesla Model S performance with the big wheels, not the efficient wheels, versus the BMW M5 competition. Tesla says that this car will do 0 to 60 in 2.3 seconds, whereas BMW says the M5 comp will do it in 3.1. So we've got one of the highest performance BMW M sedans versus the highest performance Model S sedans. How do they compare in terms of cost? Well, first of all, the efficiency goes way down when you look at the Model S performance versus the Model 3 we're looking at. So the EPA says that the Model S performance with the big wheels will use 35 kilowatt hours to go 100 miles. Multiply that out and you've got 350 kilowatt hours to go 1,000 miles. And the BMW certainly is no efficiency monster either. The M5 competition will use 5.9 gallons to go 100 miles. Multiply that out, 59 gallons to go 1,000. So we're going to use the same kilowatt hour cost and the same price per gallon, and we're going to see how that changes in the total 1,000 mile drive when we compare electricity versus gasoline. Model S performance is a lot more expensive when you drive it 1,000 miles. It would cost about $98 on supercharging to go the same distance as the Model 3 Standard Range Plus. However, it is not as expensive as the big BMW, because a twin-turbo V8, it turns out, is quite thirsty and quite expensive to drive 1,000 miles. It'll cost about $106.79. All right, so small BMW and cheap gas may be more affordable to road trip than Tesla Model 3. Big BMW is certainly more expensive than the big Model S. $8.79 more expensive. And of course, if you have the money to buy a brand new Model S, Tesla will actually offer you free supercharging, so that would make this number a big fat zero. All right, but enough playing around with these very expensive models that not a whole lot of people can afford. Let's go back to the Model 3 and the 3 Series and see what happens if gas were maybe not so cheap. Unfortunately, if we're being realistic, gas prices are probably not going to stay this cheap here in the US. So what would happen if the gas price were to go up? Well, let's take a look at how much this 1,000 miles would have cost this time last year when the average price was $2.84. All of a sudden, this starts to change the equation along, and 284 times 33 gallons is $93.72 to drive 1,000 miles. And all of a sudden, the gasoline car is quite a bit more expensive to drive 1,000 miles, $26.52 more expensive to be exact. All right, so there you have it. That's with supercharging, but let's reset the clock here. We're back to our present day gas price of $1.81 in the US average. And let's take a look at home charging, because even though supercharging is very quick and pretty easy, it's also pretty expensive compared to what it would cost to charge your electric car at home. Now, according to the US Energy Information Administration, the average cost per kilowatt hour at home in the US is just 13 cents. So let's add it up. 13 cents per kilowatt hour charging at home, albeit much slower, times 240 kilowatt hours equals $31.20. So what this means is even when gas is super cheap like it is right now, if you charge your electric car at home overnight, for example, to drive 1,000 miles, you would save $28.53 over our BMW 3 Series here. Of course, you can't charge at home when you're out on a road trip, so road tripping right now is cheaper to do in a 3 Series. Not that we can, because the vast majority of us are stuck at home, whereas home charging is still a lot cheaper in the Model 3. And of course, it's worth noting in this video, we were just looking at the actual fuel or electricity costs and not the other costs associated with gasoline ownership, like oil changes and fluid changes that may not be applicable to an electric car like a Tesla. So in conclusion, Zach and Jesse from Now You Know, you are somewhat right. Yes, it is true that normally supercharging would save you money over your traditional gasoline car, 1,000 miles to 1,000 miles. But because gas is so affordable right now, in a lot of cases the gas car may be a little bit more expensive or perhaps cheaper than supercharging an equivalent Tesla. What an interesting time we live in. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Head over to tflcar.com for the latest and greatest in new car and new truck reviews, both EV and gasoline.